Hello friends, welcome to my channel The Storyteller. Grab the popcorn and soda and the story will start in 3, 2, 1. Children never come with parenting manuals, so as a parent, I always do my best. But what happens when we are faced with an unknown pain in our daughter's intimate area and she doesn't know how to explain it to us? Caroline finally got home because the day at work was so heavy, and as she walked down the hall looking for Laura, age 9, she checked the living room and she wasn't there. She checked her room and she isn't there either. How could she disappear if the door was locked? Caroline, quite scared and about to call the police, heard a sob. It was Laura. But where? She opened the bathroom door and her body was filled with a cold air of fear. Her daughter was lying on the bathroom floor, clutching her stomach in pain. Caroline approached her and called out to her. The little one in that situation, breathing very slowly, replied, "Mom, I'm in a lot of pain." The girl began to cry loudly. "Please, Lorena, you have to tell Mom what's going on." Between tears, she asked, "My little flower, where does it hurt?" Caroline started to sweat and wondered what had happened and why her private parts were hurting. Several ideas crossed the mother's mind. Maybe the school. Maybe a friend can explain what was going on. Very afraid, she carried him very carefully. She hailed a cab and placed her on the seat, placing the girl's head in the middle of her lap. The mother began to caress her daughter, holding back her tears, because she felt guilty for her absence, because something unimaginable was happening to her daughter, and what could she do, because she had to leave her alone to go out, to work. Caroline and Laura are a mother-daughter duo who came to the capital a year ago so that the mother could work and give the best to her little girl. The girl's father just traveled to another country, promising that he would work and they would change their lives. However, the first thing that changed was his phone number, and he was never heard from again. Arriving at the emergency door of the hospital, a security guard saw that it was a girl and a woman who was on the verge of tears. So he immediately called an ambulance. Little Lorena, almost asleep, walked the corridors of the hospital on a stretcher. The mother explains to the doctor on duty what is happening, and he immediately goes to the room where the little one was. But first he tells a nurse to call the police and start an investigation, as it was unusual to see a girl with pain in her private parts. The woman was sitting outside the girl's room when the doctor came out and invited her to go to an office where the police were already. The two questioned her as she sobbed, thinking the worst. The policeman asked her to tell about the girl's routine, and she mentioned it several times, without finding any change. How it is. An oversight may have occurred. The doctor allowed her to see the girl, and the woman tearfully thanked him. Upon entering the room, there was Laura. She greeted with a slightly embarrassed smile. "My love. Don't worry, we'll be here for you." The girl started to cry. The woman sighed and, stroking her, said firmly, "This isn't her fault." The girl stirred and began to scream in pain. The doctor came in quickly and the girl wouldn't stop crying. They removed the mother from the room and she, from the window, tried to convey love and support. This scene was the toughest and hardest that Caroline had to go through. No one had told her it would never happen. No one ever told her that she would cry and scream painfully. 4 hours had passed since they arrived at the hospital, and Caroline was again called to the office to collaborate with the facts and provide the presumptive diagnosis. The doctor reported that there was no scratching or sanding injury to her private parts. The woman felt relief. It was as if her soul had returned to her body. The doctor told you again, Donna Caroline, although it is true that the possibility of injury has been ruled out, we still do not have a diagnosis and we need you to help us with all the information possible. The woman nodded yes. The doctor asked if she lived with the girl's father and if she had partnered boyfriends who lived with her and the little girl. And the answer was no, that she didn't have a partner. The doctor, looking at her, asked her to be honest and asked if she worked, who the girl stayed with and where she studied. The woman sighed and shed a few tears, confessing that she was a single mother, had been abandoned and that she had to leave her daughter locked in the house alone to be able to work and bring food. The doctor looked at her with a tender look and she, feeling guilty, asked him, "Doctor, please don't think badly of me. I would be unable to do anything for my girl. She's the reason I left my city and I fight every day to do what's best for her." The doctor, quite compassionate, accepted the woman's words, but not before indicating that what finally determined the situation were the clinical analyses he had performed. The child's gynecologist had to intervene, and after blood and urine tests, psychological tests, and even plaques, they did not notice any alarm signals. However, until the diagnosis was completed, they could not discharge the child, leaving the little girl permanently hospitalized. She spent 6 days in the middle of the hospital corridors. Rumors spread through the corridors that the mother did not take good care of her daughter, that she had many companions and even bad habits for which they rebelled. Caroline went to the hospital director to pick up her daughter. There was an argument in the hall. The director didn't want her to take it away, and her mother didn't intend to leave her in that place even one more day, because until then there was no definite diagnosis. The director gave her some documents where it said that she was responsible for any behavior, attitude or situation that occurred with the girl. When they got home, some women dressed in white were already there to spare her and take away that pain. Little Lorena began to complain of severe pain in her chest. However, the women continued to pray. They laid her on the bed and began to speak strong words like it was evil, out of pain. "Leave that girl alone." Caroline, startled, clutched her body as the women rubbed plants and flowers. The stress was so great that the girl asked to go to the bathroom. She writhed in pain when, suddenly, a scream echoed throughout the house. Her mother ran to see her. The little girl, startled, pointed to the bathroom. There was a blood stain on the girl's underwear. Immediately the mother takes the daughter with all her exams and takes her to a clinic. There, they evaluated the little girl and referred her to the endocrinologist. After several studies, she calls into his office to ask for his testimony. Caroline related, in great distress, everything the doctor had said earlier. The doctor asks about the girl's behavior, if she plays with dolls, if she puts on makeup, if she watches TV, and even with whom she plays at school. The mother, without finding a reason, answers the questions. "She is a very smart girl. I have some makeup that I hardly wear, but she's always playing with it. I watched music videos and make dance content for TikTok on my cell phone. At school, the teacher already told me that she doesn't like to play with girl stuff because she doesn't like it." The doctor asked about food and routine. The mother continued talking when a nurse interrupted, handing over a test result. The doctor took the reading with a smile. She told her that this was not the only case that she had seen in all her time at work, and that little Laura was suffering from precocious puberty. It wasn't common, but this condition developed due to high-fat diets, consumption of processed foods, technology that the content you watch is exposed to, and some components of medications you take that alter your hormones and speed up your development. In addition, she said that lately these cases are seen more often in young girls due to the social environment in which it develops. Caroline, quite relieved, thanked the doctor for the diagnosis and that now she would pay more attention to little Laura, who would treat and help the girl. They gave her painkillers and explained that she had to take better care of herself now. Yes, it is difficult to raise children sometimes, especially when there is no explanation for some things that happen. That is why, as parents, we must not only take care of them from the dangers in the streets, but we must also take care of them from the silent dangers that are at home. And here ends another story. Thank you very much, and until next time.